For billions of years, the Sun has ruled the solar system without resistance. Every planet, every asteroid, every frozen comet has existed under its gravitational command. Its energy drives climates, shapes atmospheres, and creates the invisible magnetic shield that surrounds our cosmic neighborhood. Humanity has always believed that this flow of solar energy follows known laws, powerful, chaotic at times, but ultimately predictable. But recently, scientists discovered something hidden inside the solar wind that should not exist. Not an explosion. Not a solar flare. Something far stranger. Deep within streams of charged particles flowing away from the Sun, researchers began detecting organized distortions, regions where plasma appeared to bend, compress, and move around an unseen focal point. At first, these irregularities were dismissed as turbulence caused by magnetic instability inside the Sun's corona. But the patterns kept returning. Again. And again. The disturbances were not random. They repeated with structure. And eventually, scientists noticed something disturbing. Every anomaly appeared connected to the path of a mysterious interstellar object now known as 3I Atlas. Initially, astronomers believed 3I Atlas was simply another wandering visitor from deep space, similar to previous interstellar objects that briefly passed through our solar system before disappearing forever into the darkness between stars. But as observations increased, the object began behaving in ways nobody expected. The first warning sign came from its brightness. Normally, comets brighten unpredictably as sunlight heats their surfaces and releases gas and dust into space. But 3I Atlas did not behave like a normal comet. Its luminosity rose and fell in repeating intervals, not chaotic fluctuations, but precise rhythmic pulses. The timing was so regular that astronomers began comparing observations from different telescopes to rule out instrument errors. The signal remained. Then the mystery deepened. When infrared instruments aboard the James Webb Space Telescope focused on the object, they detected unusual emission behavior. Certain wavelengths of light were being absorbed and released in repeating cycles, almost as if the object was interacting with energy in a controlled sequence rather than simply reflecting sunlight naturally. What made the discovery even more unsettling was that these light variations appeared synchronized with disturbances detected inside the solar wind itself. Two completely different systems. One shared pattern. At nearly the same time, NASA's Parker Solar Probe was flying through the outer atmosphere of the Sun, recording plasma movement near the corona. Instead of observing smooth outward expansion, scientists noticed localized bends forming inside solar particle streams. The plasma seemed to curve around a moving region in space. When researchers mapped the trajectory of 3I Atlas onto the solar data, the alignment was impossible to ignore. The distortions followed the object. From another vantage point, the European Space Agency's solar orbiter confirmed similar behavior. Solar particles appeared to redirect themselves around the same invisible point, almost as if the object carried a magnetic influence far stronger than its size should allow. That contradiction became the center of the mystery. By all known physics, an object this small should not be capable of influencing solar plasma on such a scale. The energy required would normally belong to massive planetary magnetic fields or stellar phenomena, not a drifting body likely no larger than a minor asteroid. Yet the interaction appeared real. And it was measurable. As scientists continued analyzing the data, another anomaly emerged. The object's trajectory showed slight deviations that could not be fully explained by gravity alone. Comets often shift direction due to jets of escaping gas, but those movements are usually uneven and chaotic. The adjustments seen in 3I Atlas appeared unusually smooth and directional, almost like deliberate corrections. Then came the electromagnetic signals. Sensitive instruments detected faint pulses repeating at fixed intervals. The emissions were weak, but remarkably stable. Natural objects rarely produce periodic electromagnetic behavior with such consistency unless an underlying mechanism is sustained. At this point, scientific opinion began dividing into competing explanations. Some researchers argue that the object may contain exotic metallic compositions or unusual magnetic structures capable of interacting with solar plasma in ways not yet understood. Others believe the phenomenon could reveal unknown properties of interstellar matter entering a stellar magnetic environment. But more speculative theories have also started appearing in theoretical discussions. Not proof. Not confirmation. Only a possibility. What if the object is not entirely passive? If one temporarily considers the idea of an artificial origin, several observations begin forming a different pattern. The repeating brightness cycles resemble timed processes. The plasma distortions resemble feedback interactions. The electromagnetic pulses appear less like random emissions and more like structured intervals. Some scientists have cautiously proposed a radical concept: that the object may be interacting with the Sun itself as an energy source. In this interpretation, 3I Atlas would not simply be traveling through the solar wind. It would be using it. The Sun constantly releases enormous streams of charged particles and magnetic energy into space. If an advanced system could directly couple with those plasma flows, it might theoretically extract energy without traditional propulsion methods. The solar wind would become more than an environmental force. It would become fuel. For now, this remains entirely hypothetical. Most researchers still favor natural explanations, warning that unknown plasma dynamics or incomplete solar models could account for at least part of the anomaly. The Sun remains one of the most complex systems humanity has ever studied, and many of its behaviors are still not fully understood. But one detail continues to trouble investigators. The correlation remains extremely precise. Whenever 3I Atlas brightens, solar wind distortions intensify. When the object dims, the plasma gradually relaxes. The timing is consistent across multiple observations collected from different spacecraft millions of kilometers apart. That level of synchronization is difficult to dismiss as coincidence. Now, as the object moves farther outward toward the distant regions beyond the inner planets, the disturbances are beginning to fade. But they are not disappearing instantly. Instead, the signals weaken slowly, almost like an interaction losing strength over distance rather than stopping completely. And that raises an even larger question. If proximity changes the effect, then was there truly some form of interaction taking place? The discovery of 3I Atlas may ultimately reveal nothing more than a new category of natural interstellar physics. But even that possibility would force scientists to rethink how matter behaves around stars. Because if a small object can measurably influence the solar wind of an entire star system, then the boundary between passive matter and active influence may be far thinner than humanity once believed. For centuries, stars have been viewed as untouchable engines of dominance, forces that shape everything around them while remaining unaffected themselves. But perhaps that assumption was incomplete. Perhaps even stars can be influenced by structures passing through their domain. For now, 3I Atlas continues its silent journey into deep space, leaving behind only fragments of data, unexplained patterns, and a mystery science still cannot fully answer. And somewhere inside the endless flow of particles streaming away from the Sun, a faint repeating structure continues to echo through the solar wind. Not random. Not fully understood. Something in between.